Binary storm, it's crazy. The crash, boom, fortissimo lady. Meltdown, baby. Crash, boom, fortissimo lady. Meltdown, baby. Crash, boom, fortissimo lady. Meltdown, baby. Konnichiwa, oh hey Tamagotchi. Guten Tag, ciao, subiami, hamahakita. Ring the kujiwa, click load the bike. Can you switch our order? Frantic lines glitch in sight. Cool meltdown, baby. Words twist, crash or maybe. Binary storm, it's crazy. The crash, boom, fortissimo lady. Jumbo calamari swish, Ola I go do dash. Mingle level 5 and crash. Bonjour au revoir smash. Techno bubble jabbering, chords fraying, shattering, tongues twisting, scattering, bites flying, babbling. Cool meltdown, baby. Words twist, crash or maybe. Binary storm, it's crazy. The crash, boom, fortissimo lady. Meltdown, baby. Crash, boom, fortissimo lady. Techno bubble jabbering, chords fraying, shattering, tongues twisting, scattering, bites flying, babbling. Cool meltdown, baby. Words twist, crash or maybe. Binary storm, it's crazy. The crash, boom, fortissimo lady. Meltdown, baby. Crash, boom, fortissimo lady. Meltdown, baby. Crash, boom, fortissimo lady. Meltdown, baby.
Konnichiwa, spitfire caliente. Tokyo drift with colomete. Tu dis que you hot, mais je suis le prince. This king of rap, tu vois ça commence.
Rapid fire, balas Tokyo Tower. French finesse, devour en power. Muevo I'm lit como fuego. Bilingual beast, te dejo en el suelo.
Robot grind and can't escape. Valley Grand, rhymes la crème de la crème. Arigato, merci, nada te regalo. Mi lengua slice, este es tu finalo.
Bars to my triplets, quico tengo. Soon passe à high speed en juego. Kicks and Tokyo sont dans la rue. Verdad brutal, splitting ya en deux.
Kisetsu ni Sawaru en toute saison. Hit hard, dropping lines with reason. No remorse, sin piedad ni ruego. History writes his linguistic fuego.
Rapid shots, siento el dolor. Tokyo streets répondent la mort. C'est la guerre, you well diem. Mental samurai desafiando el système. Rapid fire, balas Tokyo Tower. French finesse, devour en power. Muevo I'm lit como fuego. This king of rap, tu vois ça commence.
Rapid fire, balas Tokyo Tower. French finesse, devour en power. Muevo I'm lit como fuego. Bilingual beast, te dejo en el suelo. Worldwide grind, you can't escape. Polyglot rhymes, la crème de la crème. Arigato, merci, nada te regalo. Mi lengua slice, este es tu finalo.
Este es tu finalo. Bye. Go.
Kisetsu ni Sawaru.
toute saison, hit hard, drop it like speed en juego. Kicks in, toque saut dans la rue, Verda bruta, spreading y'a deux.
Kisetsu Misawaru en toute saison. Hit hard, dropping lines with reason. No remorse, sin piedad ni ruego. History writes es linguistic fuego.
Rapid shots, siento dolor. Tokyo streets, hood don la mort. C'est la guerre, you well damn. Monta samurai, desafiando el system. Desafiando el system.
In the depths of shadows dark, Wolfgang's roar ignites a spark. Brave and bold with fear dismissed, he shapes legends with his fist. Wolfgang storms the Mireneye, with his blade he fights the fight. Echoes of the minstrel's hymn, in his soul the light grows dim. Beasts and foes, they form a line. Twin leg quakes, yet he'll not pine. Every swing a tale to tell. Wolfgang brews his foes farewell. Wolfgang storms the Mireneye, with his blade he fights the fight. Echoes of the minstrel's hymn, in his soul the light grows dim. Beasts and foes, they form a line. Twin leg quakes, yet he'll not pine. Every swing a tale to tell. Wolfgang brews his foes farewell. Wolfgang storms the Mireneye, with his blade he fights the fight. Echoes of the minstrel's hymn, in his soul the light grows dim. Battles fierce where heroes wait, crafting war with every blade. Tales spun around fireside glow, songs of Wolfgang's mighty show. Wolfgang storms the bitter night. With his blade he fights the fight. Echoes of the minstrel's hymn, in his soul the light grows dim.
Tamagotchi 고등 잡을 수 변이 하마 할기다
Ring the ring the kujiwa Click click load the bike Can you switch out order Frantic lines glitch inside
Cool meltdown baby
Words twist crash or maybe
Ordinary storm it's crazy
Crash boom Fortissimo lady Jumbo color mass swish Bola I go through dash Mingle level 5 and crash Bonjour or revoir smash Techno bubble jabbering Chords fraying shattering Tongues twisting scattering Bites flying babbling
Cool meltdown baby
Words twist crash or maybe
Ordinary storm it's crazy
Crash boom Fortissimo lady
Meltdown baby
Crash boom Fortissimo lady
Techno bubble jabbering Chords fraying shattering Tongues twisting scattering Bites flying babbling Cool meltdown baby
Words twist crash or maybe
Binary storm it's crazy
Crash boom Fortissimo lady
So good. So good.
Meltdown baby
Crash boom Fortissimo lady
Meltdown baby
Crash boom Fortissimo lady
Meltdown baby
I wasn't gonna... Singing was not on my list of things to do today. But here we are. Here we are. So, this is the second thing that I wanted to look for today. Does the voice sound better to you guys? Is it low? Can you hear me? Music too loud? Because I've been tweaking shit to try to push the quality. Music is overpowering a little bit. Some people say they can't hear the music at all. So funny. Okay. I think we're just gonna cut some of the desktop audio then. Something like this. I think that will be good. This is a lot better. Right, it might be the bass. So you can hear me quite well then. Nice. We can add some bass to the voice. Right, I'm gonna go grab my tea and then we'll get started. Right. Of course I forget to turn off the mic as I walk away. This is the moment where a YouTuber would reveal their inner secrets. Or a VTuber or whatever. Like that anime where they're like... She ends up like drinking off stream, or she thinks she's off stream and then shit just goes to hell. I haven't watched it, but it seems fun. And like she gets like 1 million views from her casual, like just thought she was doing private shit. Yo, Wolfgang, I have a silly surprise for you. Let's see. Let me get on this screen. Yeah, there we go. And my hair is not as fluffy as it usually is these days. Oh well. I guess it's fine. Hello guys. It's still fresh and hot. It's good to see you. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to hunt that surprise real soon. My secret guest was like, will you be ready in 30 minutes? I'm like, give me 45. I'm like an old engine. Gotta give me some time to start. Is it here? No. Let's do it this way. I'm looking for the surprise. The surprise. it gets really confusing when you have one screen to work with. Like everything is just overlapping everything. Here it is. Alright, this is going to be an abrupt change of music here. This is the silly surprise for you, Wolfgang.
War ignites a spark. Brave and bold with fear dismissed, he shapes legends with his fist. Wolfgang storms the Mireneye. With his blade he fights the fight. Echoes of the mist.
Goes pretty hard.
His soul the light grows dim. Beasts and foes they form a line. Twin lake quakes yet he'll not pine. Every swing a tale to tell. Wolfgang brews his foes farewell.
Wolfgang brews his foes farewell. It's not bad.
Beasts and foes they form a line. Twin lake quakes yet he'll not pine. Every swing a tale to tell. Wolfgang brews his foes farewell. Wolfgang storms the Mireneye. With his blade he fights the fight. Echoes of the minstrel's hymn. In his soul the light grows dim.
I don't get that line, but I guess it's a hard fight. It's fun, right?
Wolfgang storms the bitter night. With his blade he fights the fight. Echoes of the minstrel's hymn. In his soul the light grows dim.
That should be the meme of the cat thing, like. Alright. Enough of that. Enough of that. Back to this. Most relaxed vibe in the world. Wow, the time is just passing by so fast these days. I sit down, I do whatever the fuck, and just hours go by. I don't know why time is passing so fast right now. But it is. For whatever reason. Okie dokie. How are we doing? You guys have fun? So today is a bit of a special day, so in 15 minutes we're gonna try to sync up with a fellow developer of mine. He be of the name... Well, actually no, let's keep him a secret until we get there. But yeah, he's got a really cool project, and today specifically we're gonna be talking about enemy design. So, if you're just joining us, please take a moment, think of some of the games you really like, or some of the experiences you really like, and think of an enemy you guys really enjoy, and why you enjoy that enemy specifically. Do not think of bosses. That's specifically, let's not talk about bosses. let's talk about enemies, right? Keep that in mind because that's going to become relevant later during this evening, this day, wherever you are. So, yeah, I obviously right now, as I say that, I want to just keep talking about the specific, like, oh, these are the ones that are on my mind. But let's hold off with that until we have the co-stream sort of set up. But I wanted some like alone time with you guys, you know. Just you and me, because God knows I get very distracted when there's lots of shit going on. So distracted. So how's the? I know it's holidays in some places. How's time treating you? That's a very generic way to say that. How is time treating you? How are times treating you? Yeah, that's more correct. In other news, I think everyone who's here right now already knows this, but we got Nightbot added and we got a bunch of commands. The most intriguing of them is to roll a die of any size. And I've integrated that with building pieces on the tower. So you can now spend channel points and you can gamble up to 4 pieces. I don't think I actually wrote that somewhere. Let's look at that. Yeah, 4 pieces. So it'll be a discount 4 pieces. It will even be a discount 3 pieces. But 2 and 1 will be sort of evenly priced, I believe. Well, no, you can add 2 pieces for 2,500, then it's a secure 2 pieces. So maybe this should be 250. That gives it a bit more like a Gamba sort of vibe, right? You can secure your 2 pieces, you could get 1 piece. But you can also secure, like you can secure 2 pieces, you can get 1 piece, or 3 and 4. Maybe it should be the same price. Maybe it should be the same price. Yeah, I think it should be the same price. That seems right to me. The same price of 2,500 essence. Essence is very inflated here. God knows 1 essence is worth a lot in Dynasthir. What else is new? I've been spending maybe average 14 hours, 15 hours, so working every day for like a week. It's been crazy. But we're doing some amazing progress. I'm very happy with where the project is right now, and I feel very confident. There's always been a confidence, but it is more solid now. I feel like we can actually... We have... The biggest technical hurdles are all behind us now. Things that were causing many issues before. There's some smaller kinks to figure out, but now it's trickling down to the noise level more so than the screaming level. Heading into December, how about that? This year has passed by very fast for me. Half of it was just a haze, and the second half has been so much to do. So this 2024 just like flew by, I feel. Compared to last year, I lived at 4 different places, I think 4 or 5. This year it's been 2, 3. Yeah, 3. So, because I think I spent New Year's in Estonia. So, Estonia, smaller village outside of my town in Umeå. In Sweden as well, is what I was gonna say. And then here, that I'm living right now. So 4 places last year and 3 places this year. So it's been a lot of moving around. But I did set out to be on, you know, traveling grounds. Well, yeah, I sort of got an offer. Not an offer for a job, but like a position for a job in Stockholm was presented to me. For basically a gameplay programmer position, which is kind of interesting. The pay would be good, I'm pretty certain. It's for like an unannounced project. So we had the first session of like checking, getting a vibe for each other, and now they're asking for my credentials, essentially. Not credentials, but the curriculum vitae. I'm curious. What is the curriculum vitae? Yeah, that one. Yo, Prosto Cardillo? Prosto Cardillo. Welcome in. Raccoon with popcorn, hi. It's good to see you. Looks like you're a first-time chatterer. I hope you're doing well this fine evening. We are gonna be getting into game dev stuff in a while. We have like 10 more minutes still alive yet. Excellent. 4? Yes, 4 minutes ish until I'm gonna try to sync up with a friend. So you're coming here at a fortunate moment, I would say. So I could have some one time with you guys before we head into that. So we're gonna be talking with another dev about enemy design. So if you want, can I short that to Prosto? If you will, think of an enemy in a game that you really enjoy. And yes. The first question was, may I call you Prosto? Second question is, may you think of an enemy in a game you really like. Assuming you like games, which is, you know. Yeah. Excellent. As many have before. Does it mean something to you? Just one of your favorite enemies in any game whatsoever, and like hold on to that, because that is what we are going to be talking about later on the stream with a companion. Say companion, more like a co-dev. Not co-dev. I'm struggling with words here. I'm sorry. A friend developer of mine is gonna be coming in here, and we're gonna have a chat about enemy design specifically. Jesus Christ, creepers out of everything. I understand it though. I understand. it's not the worst. Yeah. So for you, it's there's something very memorable about the appearance, sound, experience of those. They're very simple. Here's something that we are going to touch about more later, where like a good enemy doesn't need to have like 10 different attacks. A lot of good enemies designs, strong enemy designs, just have one thing they do. Frost means just simple. Yeah, we used to have a server for Minecraft way back in the days. It was called the Mireneye. Like, it spelled like this. So Mireneye server. And I was, as always, very ambitious, so I was gonna like design a whole world for people to play in. Like, you know, build out the fantasy sort of environment sort of thing. We got some place into it, installing some plugins and some more epic world generation, stuff like that. I will admit, I think I mostly enjoyed creative, and then, because I am a 3D graphics artist, or an artist in general, I started thinking, oh, I could do this better with higher fidelity in 3D. So it just fell off the map for me. And you know, that's what I went off doing, you know, just making my own game. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Nightbot. Automatic update there. That might, I think I need to fix that command. Because as I see that command, it's mashing both of the things together. I'll go fix that right now. Let's see, timers? Yeah, I see it. That should work better. Dead Skeetos from Valheim. Valheim is a cool example as well. I don't remember which one of the Dead Skeetos. Valheim. Oh, there's no criteria. It's just like, what is... Oh, these guys. Okay. Well, hold on. No, I'm just looking at general creatures. Grey Dwarfs. Ghost Roots. Abominations? I don't remember Dead Skeetos, but I played Valheim very early. Death Squeedo. There they are. Yeah, I don't think I ever met these guys. Maybe I did. But yeah, I mean, mosquitoes. Yeah, no, I never went that far. There was only... Swamp didn't exist when I was playing. So... Yeah. No, so there's no criteria. It's literally just your favorite enemy. And the reason why is because on our talk today about enemy design and stuff, you know, we can take all of those like suggestions and then talk about those and figure out like what makes them interesting to people, right? Bitey, yeah, that's mosquitoes for you. Oh, so you're also a developer? Cool. What are you working on? Very cool. I really like the Warhammer Rats. The Skaven. I really like the Skaven. You know, it's fine to design cute enemies. I have this thing where in Final Fantasy 13, I don't know if it's 1 or 2, there's these cats who hover and they hang out in jars, like weird jars or whatever they might be. And they have this like sound when they die, they go like, and I always feel bad about killing them, and I think that's a fun feeling, right? That's something that is woefully lacking in Dynasthir. You don't feel bad for killing anything necessarily. Yeah, success or failure. What do you mean, is it success or failure? I'm gonna start trying to sync up here with friends. With my codev. So I will still try to keep track of chat, of course, just so you guys know what's going on. So what's the game? What is the game? The game is just a game. Is it unannounced? You can't talk about it? That makes it more exciting, you know. So I know I can't include my camera on this, but I do know. Wait. Yeah, because I need his camera. We have a little bit of a weird setup because I can't share my camera on Twitch because my computer dies. So then we figure all of this. Grab your camera from Twitch, you grab mine. Discord has the audio. Cool, very cool. So yeah, of course, you know, like it's always a working project. Flip switch. I don't have a first reference to flip switch. I'm grabbing a reference to this part of the chat so that I can look these up later. Please drop a link if you want. So I'm gonna kill the music right now just so that I can get this thing up and running. And make sure that you guys let's get one thing sorted first, which is audio, and then we can see if we can sort out video too. I noticed that we're getting we're on a call now, right? But okay, yeah, cool. I heard some noise. Yes, I can. Let me increase your volume a little bit. There you go. Now, let's see that you guys can hear my friend as well.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, it's absolutely picking you up.
Good. All right. Awesome.
So
right.
I think let's see. I'm trying to get. I don't know if that's the link that you need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not certain. We did look at this beforehand.
Right. We did. And this is entirely new. I've never done a
Oh,
co-stream
okay, yeah,
before.
yes. So this is
And
all.
neither have you, right? So we're
Hello.
we're both brand new at this.
Yeah. I tried inviting for the shared chat as well to see how that works out. More people, more fun, right?
Yep.
So, oh yeah, I can send an invite as well. So just like this, right? Yeah.
Yes, that's much better. I tried to click the link and it was frozen.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay.
I
Whatever.
haven't started my thing yet because, you know.
Then I went and muted all the sound and video here. But I'm going to be grabbing your video from over there, and you will grab me from over here. So this is where it's gonna get a little bit interesting here. So because
Let's see what
I'll
happens.
be sharing via virtual camera.
Mm-hmm.
Start virtual camera, and then on Discord. we spent like, what was it, like 2 hours, like looking
It
at
was
things.
about 2 hours trying to figure this
Yeah.
out. But we'll see.
So now you should basically have like a line of sight to what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm. Let me see here. So
And then
can't see here. Oh yeah, you're
and
not
then
in here.
here is where we're
You're in here.
going.
Yes, right. And then in here,
And right now I'm having a capture of the screen, which we do not need that, I don't think. For now, let's keep the display out of this. It's comfortably scuffed. Oh my god. Hi.
is it working?
Yes.
I think it's working.
Yes, it's working.
Okay, great.
And so we're doing half over Discord and half over Twitch, making this come together here. So can you guys like hear us well? Can you guys get a vibe on this? Human. So Prosto here, he's new on this channel. She, the person rather.
Welcome.
Is new on this channel. Just arrived right before the call basically, and has already shared that they enjoy basically annoying but memorable character like enemies from games. So they share that like the creepers
Awesome.
and death squeedos from Valheim. So
That's awesome. So I played both games, and there's certainly some awesome enemy designs in both of those games.
what makes
You
them?
know, and
Can you give an example of
yeah,
what makes them good?
right. Have you played Valheim?
Yes, I've played both games. Although Valheim
So
only
you're
early
familiar.
in its time.
Yeah.
Same with
I
Minecraft.
especially liked the well, I didn't like so much, but they were still very you know, common in the game, and that's the big the ogre guys. The ones you'd be walking in the forest, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's this big, you know, um, you know, embodiment of this creature that's just lurking around in the forest, and you're like, oh shit, I have to turn back. And that was always the case.
Yeah.
This was early on, too, when we first I had a group of friends. We played, and we actually streamed the game on the channel. And we were just honestly, I think we were both fascinated and also petrified of the fact that there was a giant ogre in places that we had no idea where it would be. You know. So I mean, there's plenty of awesome enemy
Yeah.
designs in that game.
The fun
Um,
thing
that
about
surprised.
the fun thing about Valheim that stands out a little bit is the physicality of the world that plays into the enemies. So for the big like trolls, for instance, that their ability to like topple trees and stuff and pick them up and like use them as weapons is really like mechanically when an enemy will be one-on-one with the world, I feel that just flat out makes a better enemy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so I mean, with
Yeah.
that, hold on a minute. I'm setting up my I'm setting up my
Yeah.
my end of things as well.
So
here,
Prosto,
but,
while you do that, Prosto is saying that,
yeah.
oh damn, if you combine creepers and death squeezes, it'd be scary. So flying creepers, that would be quite something. I
I've
don't.
actually had a concept like that before. I've never actually done it, but it kind of had to do with.
Is this
This is a little bit
kamikaze?
weird. It's a little bit weird, but it was to do with well, you know the trope, the fantasy thing where you have goblins that are like suicide bombers sort of thing, like they'll come
Yep.
at you with like
Yep.
bombs strapped to their, you know. Um, well, I was thinking like this idea of having one on like a glider because you know the thing with goblins and gliders too is a thing. So like imagine having a goblin with a glider coming at you with a bomb and it's like, oh shit.
Have you
You
played?
know, just from like different areas, you know.
Have you played Sekiro?
Um, I have not. I've
Okay.
heard of it. I'm guilty of not playing that game.
May I spoil
But
an amazing detail in Sekiro?
is it something to do with what I've said?
It very relevant. Very very.
Very relevant. Okay, yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of minor and it's still gonna fucking get you, I think. Uh, so there is a moment as you're walking along some rooftops in Sekiro, and you hear a noise that goes wah, and then basically, a suicide bomber ninja thing comes flying in on a kite and right into you. Basically, oh, they don't suicide; they just like sort of
Oh wow.
explode, jump off, and then they start fighting you. I think they fight you. Maybe I'm misremembering that. Maybe they do die, but it's really funny because you're walking there, everything is good. You think you're safe. There's no indication that there would be any enemies nearby, and you're like, wow, and you're like, where is that coming from? And
Yeah.
by the time you realize you're dead, it's really funny. And that reminds me of that. But you know, being Sekiro, the more like mythological things, more so. Well, Eastern mythological more so than goblins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Prosso is
Um,
saying, as one told, make a villain, make him powerful and scary, and then allow another villain kill the first one to show real power. It's from Bakuman if you rewatch it. We have a moment where we subvert this expectation in Dynasthir, but it's an interesting one. I haven't read or watched Bakuman. It's been on my list for a long time though. You know what
yeah,
what that
I
was?
have not watched it either. But I've certainly heard about it. And you know, I have plenty of friends that are into, you know, that sort of thing. Um,
It's good.
yeah,
Apparently.
very much. From what I've heard. I'm gonna go ahead and start my stream now.
Cool.
So
Cool.
we're going
We
live
were
here.
yeah. You have like a start spiel you want to do, or should I mute myself?
Not really.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just, you know, I'm all about when I go live, I just jump into things.
Yeah.
Very casual about how we do
Yeah.
things. You know, this isn't like a
This is more two friends fucking about than
interview,
else.
you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
sort of thing, right?
You know, it's more two friends fucking about, really.
Right, exactly. And anyone who wants to stop in here and ask questions or add to the discussion is certainly welcome.
Yeah. So that's the thing I've been asking Chad beforehand, is to think of like an enemy that they really like, and then when we start a conversation, we can bring that up. Prosta was fast on that question and jumped in on it immediately, so that's why I brought it up immediately.
Awesome. Yeah, so to add a little bit of context, we are both developing fantasy RPGs. I believe both of them kind of have a Souls-like approach to the combat, and the way we're doing things is obviously different. I believe Mireneye, you have a more well, currently you have a more fast-paced system to where your combat is more flexible in the sense that it currently has the capabilities of providing the player with swift combat and having different you know, different weapon types and different, I suppose, stances, if you will, with those different weapons, such as um, I believe you mentioned dual wielding before and things of that nature. Um,
Yes. So
so,
small correction there is that it's specific weapons have a specific moveset. There's
correct.
no mode switching of those weapons immediately.
Right.
Just
Right.
it's something we looked at one point, but it's
Mhm.
more fun with the variety of weapons because we'd rather make a bunch of different weapons and
Right.
focus on getting those identities, I guess you could call them, for those weapons to what they're supposed to be doing. Instead of diluting those with further mechanics. So we choose our dilution of weapon variety rather than having smaller set of weapons with larger set of things you can do, basically.
Hmm.
As well as some silly yoke weapons that literally is like one animation that you can do.
Right. Right.
Like here's a spoon
Right.
you can hit someone with.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up is simply because I believe, really, honestly, that drives. Um, I think from both of our experiences over the time that we've been developing our games and our RPG combat systems and our weapon types, albeit as I said, they're quite different in their own respect. Every RPG has its own methods of handling weapons, combat, and you know, animation types for those weapons,
Yeah.
as you just mentioned, Mireneye. Um, with that, I believe it all kind of the way our enemies are designed all kind of roots from that, right? And in that sense, Miranai, could you talk a little bit about how that maybe has influenced, you know, some of your enemy design in your game currently?
So the speed
So, like, in
of
terms of
which, yeah,
combat.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the speed of which combat is executed on is something we landed on from
Hmm.
looking at, looking a little bit at like games we like, but also I think the main thing in Dynasthir is the lack of stamina. So in Dynasthir, it's all about having the
You mentioned that.
what?
It's interesting you mentioned that because I actually have a similar thing in my game, and I think there's so many different and honestly challenging ways of using that.
Yep.
And really, it's the challenge that we derive from something like that. In the way the player conserves that energy is very dependent on you know, the weapon type, those skills, and you know, what kind of stance they're following.
Yeah, for sure. So let's see. I don't know if I can spin something specific off what you just said there.
Yeah.
I will say that I find it interesting that you have that approaching it from a different angle than using stamina. In Dynasthir, the initial thought of that came from. It's really funny. I watched a talk about design for World of Warcraft, out of all the games in the world, and they were talking about the small change of instead of punishing player for dying, reward them for, like, I don't know, is it getting back to corpses fast? I forget what the mechanics of it is. I don't know, but they swapped a word basically in the design to, instead of be like a death penalty, now it's like a positive thing, just by wording. And then the association with that mechanic became positive. And I was like, okay, so what's the opposite of stamina? And I realized that was going to be keeping the player engaged with the enemy longer by doing well. So the way that's characterized in Dynasthir and Dynasthir's combat with the enemies is they have You know, you do a dodge, you get some adrenaline building up. You do a good block, you get some adrenaline building up. You hit, you get. I think we currently sustain adrenaline when you do hits, so it doesn't drain when you do hits. I'm not exactly certain. We're still tweaking exactly where these pieces fit in, where the sustain part fits in, and where the other parts fit in.
Right.
But the idea is
Basically,
over time you build.
gaining momentum.
Yeah, but the idea is over time you build adrenaline. Adrenaline allows you to do a special attack,
Right. Right.
and that as long as you're playing well and you're not getting hit, you're not depleting your adrenaline. So that's the core of the combat, which I'd say that drives a lot of the speed, because we don't want people backing away unless they are doing badly, they running out of health or stuff like that. Maybe if there's like a particular attack that is, you know, more dangerous than others. There's quite a few examples of that in the game.
Yeah, and I think that kind of calls back also to something that I mentioned to you that I had a problem with recently. And you know, for those of you watching, bear in mind that my combat is, I believe, in a much earlier phase than yours, Mireneye. And so
Russell says
an,
a
uh,
raccoon,
an, an
raccoon
interesting
and cookie
issue.
and
Yeah. An interesting issue that I faced was recently trying to diversify my enemy types based on some feedback and some you know, general basis from people that I've spoken to that play RPGs and understand you know, broader aspects of enemy design. And that was that I had a bunch of like shielded enemies, right? And I had told you that. I was like, oh, you know, I got all these shielded enemies that are, you know, and some of them just have a sword, right? They'll do the one-handed and you know, raise their guard with the weapon, right?
yeah,
And still block with it. But they're all blocking, you know, all of them are you know, pretty much um, moderate defense. And what ended up happening was, because I had so many of them in like a small area. For example, I had a little ruin in this part of my level. And Mirna, you saw a screenshot of that, I believe. I sent you some screenshots of it. and and so I had so many in that compact area, and then on top of that, it was a really good test for me because I was able to figure out what's the point of imbalance with these enemies. What point is it too much? You know, and so having like two shielded enemies, and then I have another enemy type in my game which is more of a brute. Eventually he's gonna have two-handed, you know, all that stuff, you know, typical brute stuff, right? But as of now, he's equally strong with just one, you know, big sword, right? No shield, no blocking or anything. But having that mix was a big test for me, because you know, you basically have what you end up with is you either approach with a certain strategy, you know how you're going to take one guy down, go to the next guy, and you can kind of close distance strategically with each enemy without, you know, pre-engaging certain ones and trying to go in all in at once, which would just get you killed. And so that was an interesting thing for me to test that out. And in doing that, I realized that having, I think I had what, like two, I might have more than two. No, I had two shielded enemies or two elite enemies in my game, and I had one grunt, and then I had the one brute. And then behind me, if I were to go back, and I'm kind of just explaining this vaguely, but if I were to go back even further past the bridge that you cross to go to the ruins,
yep,
that had an archer at the top. So I would go play test, you know, close distance back, and I'd fall all the way back there. I sometimes, if I made a mistake, you know,
yep.
you could get away with killing them all on the bridge. But if I made a mistake, I'd go back and then I'd get shot by the archer and die. So it's you know, again, it's, I believe we all start at a point where there is there's a lot of balancing to do with enemy design in RPGs. And
What's the
and
what's the most abstracty sort of monster design that exists in the realms of Wolfthorn?
Wolfthorn. That would be the orc grunt.
It's
They they are they are more of a, you know,
because like you have.
non-blocking.
Hmm,
Some of them have shields, some of them
hmm.
have like axes, machetes, things like that, daggers. Some of them are
Can I
pretty
make an
quick.
example?
Um, what's that?
Can I make an example?
Yeah, sure.
So when I say abstract, it's in the form of, are the majority of the enemies things you'd expect in sort of a fantasy environment, or can there
Oh yeah.
be things like,
Oh yeah.
because you have things more recently, take Elden Ring or one of the Souls games
Great. You have all these
where you
different
have
crazy
where you have
types
like a
of
really weird mushroom thing
weird creatures. Yeah.
that
So
only
like,
that does like one thing where it like spews a cloud of like poison
yeah.
or whatever
Yeah,
and
that's an
shoots
interesting
lights.
question. Actually,
It's
yeah, I mean, it's a bit of both. I mean, honestly, right now, my focus is on the two, well, the two main categories where there's multiple factions underneath those categories are things like, you know, you have your bandits. There's a lot of orcs in my game, and particularly inspired by Lord of the Rings. I'm deeply inspired by that.
Yep.
Um, and just really nasty creatures in those two spots as the most common enemies currently. But then you also have creatures of the world which would go in line with things like The Witcher 3, where you have creatures that are more monster-like, or mutant-like in a way, where you have things like wild ghouls. You have there's a special type of creature in my game, a variant of a dire wolf that you can come across, and those are quite dangerous because they're not just your standard wolf. They're big and they're nasty looking, and they can do a lot of damage. So there's things like that too, and there's so many different kinds of enemies in that regard. It just depends on what region of the world you're in.
How
For
much?
example, I have created these vampire type enemies that are also um, sort of like inspired by a mix of vampires and gargoyles. It's kind of weird, but it ended up working. The design worked out really well, and so they are present in more northern areas, and you'll see them flying around at night. And during the day, you could catch them by the caverns near the dark areas where the light isn't so prominent. And then further into that, you can go into lairs and things of that nature. So there's different types of. I guess we could go on another discussion. I do want to answer your question, um, Prosto and Mireneye's chat,
Yeah,
about the grunt in the brunt. And so I don't know if I already
I missed
sort of
the.
answered
I
that.
missed
I
the.
think I did. I think I sort of answered that, but I mean, if you mean the difference between the yeah, like the like as I explained, the shielded enemies, which are more of I believe the brunt variant. They're more of the sort of elite, but not really elite. You have to close distance and you have to play a little strategically. Um,
Yeah.
but the difference between those two is well, the most obvious one is with a grunt, you don't really have to close as much distance. It's kind of just um, evade basic attacks. They're gonna come at you all, mostly at once, um, and their damage is also a bit less. So um, they're a bit more limited in terms of defense. So um,
Processing vampires and gargoyles, so they're turning into stone on the sun, or burning, or turning into stone and burning, or it's just a stone that's
oh
become hot under sun, and that's basically normal stone
yeah,
behavior. I'm confused.
yeah. Well, that's kind of a good question. Honestly, I haven't really gotten that far with it yet, or how much influence of like the gargoyle side goes into it. It was more just based on the design so far, in terms of the aesthetics, really. So not so much deriving from the characteristics of like a gargoyle. It's more towards the vampire side, honestly. Um, so yeah, I haven't really taken that into account yet, honestly, but it's definitely a good point. If you intend to pull different things from different creatures, it's it's certainly something to consider.
Yeah, so it also depends entirely on whether
What you're pulling
you
from.
pull from traditional lore or if you're creating something
Right.
that is
Yeah. In this case, it's brand
relatable
new.
but unique, maybe.
Yeah. In this case, it's brand new, and it's something that just doesn't. It's not really derived from anything besides just general concepts and looks, more so than characteristics, is what I would say.
Hmm.
And that goes for a lot of things. I mean, in terms of enemies that you can find like that in Wolfthorn, and that's, I mean, it's mostly, you know, I spin a take on the characteristics slightly, but not so much. It's more towards the aesthetics, and then I create the characteristics. I build the things on top of that because really, honestly, I enjoy doing it. Um, I enjoy making something new that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, so
So
I don't know if you did
that's really
this
kind
to
of the
any
goal.
degree, but in Dynasthir we have a subversion of the expectation of what like a mythical archetype is. So we have a specific type of people are called the Enukin, and the Enukin are they are to some degree succubi and incubi inspired, like visually inspired. So
Right. Hmm.
the idea is people will assume them to be uh, have some sort of like hypersexual look to them,
Right.
and they have that thing of like the idea in the world is even that they would lure men to do whatever, but the backstory to that is something akin to their race was almost extinct because of humans and they had to do that to survive. So subverting like that idea of like why they're doing what they're doing and why they've ended up in that position. So it's like now it's no longer a position of power from them. It's basically like, oh, we had to turn to prostitution to survive.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's kind of sort of like an example of what I just said. And honestly, I think it's something that is you know, it's kind of done quite often in most people don't you know, most people don't pick up on it unless you're well informed about the creature or character or whatnot. There's always assumptions of a certain creature that looks like this should behave this way, and a certain monster that has this look should act like that, or is said to be derived from certain actual
Have you played
mythological
Dragon
folktale
Age
creatures.
Origins?
Um, I haven't actually played through it in a while. I think I played the first couple of games, but
Yes,
it's
the
been
first
so
one.
long.
Yes, the first game.
Um, yeah, um, it was a very long time ago. Honestly, I don't remember
Likewise,
much.
I do
But
remember that this reminds me a little bit of the conflict between the werewolves and the elves in that game,
yep,
where
yeah,
it's very easy to make assumptions about things, and then it turns out it's like a whole
hmm yeah,
there's like a whole like there's not a clear idea of who necessarily is right, wrong, that sort of stuff. It's an entire like werewolves are their own thing, and before getting there you don't understand like the meaning of the curse that they're carrying around and stuff like that. So it's to bring this back to what we're talking about for enemy design and stuff. I All of this world building contextualizes obviously the what sort of
exactly. I'd like to
what
go
sort of
back to
things you
that.
have to encounter in the world. And
Yeah,
we could as designers just say here's a wolf, here's a mercenary, but it's way more interesting if that mercenary is like he's the mercenary of the band of
and he's in
the
maybe he's in
bear
their area,
and
right?
yeah.
Maybe he's in a zone that's where they have a lair nearby or something, or they have a place of gathering.
Yeah.
You know, and that's interesting to me, and I'd like to actually go back to that. But before I continue, thank you for bringing this up, Prosto, from Mireneye's chat. Honestly, a very good thing to bring up. And it's something that I don't think I've really gone over too much. You know, it's mostly something that, um, you know, again, most people ignore. So it's nice to hear that somebody is picking up on the like the inspirations behind things and asking the right questions, because it does certainly matter. And how much you're pulling from it, again, is entirely dependent on the creator of the creature, right? But again, it's all valid questions I think we ask ourselves when we create these characters or creatures or whatever they are. And we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to take from those things? So thank you for asking that question. It's not a stupid question at all. You spun up a whole conversation on that, so thank you for asking. Um, but to continue on, so with the idea of world building and how that influences our enemy designs, one other thing I wanted to bring up from Wolfthorn is how we have, currently there is the interior locations that I'm working on. Some of the types are actually quite interesting and have to do a lot with the types of enemies you'll encounter in each area. The only thing that hasn't been developed so much would be more exterior influences, so things outside of those interior entrances, things that would be, you know, surrounding that area. That's something we're working on. But the whole idea is essentially having, you know, monster and creature layers. And I know I've brought up the term layer a couple times now. And the idea is to have those in different areas and different regions, in obviously different structures. And that kind of honestly, you can kind of compare it to some of the things Skyrim does as well. There's multiple RPGs that have done things like this, but I feel like there's always new, interesting ways of doing it. And
You
so we
know,
have like these different interiors and layers and, you know, places of gathering for those creatures, based on the region and zones.
do you know how the original Gothic works?
I
I
played I played Gothic as well,
Oh, cool,
but
cool.
not very much.
Okay, so
I think I played is it the third one? It was one of the ones that wasn't taken so well
yeah,
or
yeah.
received very well.
So, but the original Gothic does something very
Yeah.
interesting with its world slash enemies in that
Hmm.
uh, there's only one spawn of them, right? So you go somewhere, you kill something, it's dead. And then as the game progresses, they will spawn in other types of enemies and other types of encounters. Nice. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So for instance, you get to the second chapter or whatever. It's not. I think it's divided by chapters if I remember correctly, but we're further into the quest line basically, and then they spawn like more dire wolves or like specifically dire wolves, and then you kill those, but then there's like nothing left in the world after that. So that gives them a few cool benefits. One is that they can pace the game more or less, not I wouldn't say perfectly, but they know exactly how much experience points people are gonna have to spend.
Right.
They can pace the quest in a way where like, okay, so they have these quests for these things they have to turn in, so they know the. I don't know if drop rates are absolute in that game or if there are chance based, but I'm assuming they're sort of absolute. Like if they have one spawn, they can just say, hey, this guy is gonna drop this. I'm not
Right.
sure about that though. Like that might be interesting to look at. So they can pace the quests and stuff around that, so they know, well, the player's gonna have one of these or one of that, or which is a cool benefit. The downside of that, and I tried this for Dynasthir, is that eventually the world is really empty.
Empty, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's like, I mean, I feel like honestly with the way that I've explained things, it's a more simple concept in that regard, you know, having designated like interior locations that are of significance to those creatures in areas that are very populated with those creatures, or they're more, you know, inclined to be in that area. And I think there's maybe a couple things that can be done there that are relative to what you just explained here. And that would be in the sense of clearing those locations out, and then you know, again, kind of balancing it in a way as you progress through. Um, you know, you're clearing out locations, but maybe finding a way to make it so that it's not you don't have that emptiness factor when you're all done. You know, without you know, there's always the simple things of resetting cells and things like that. But I believe there's maybe some other ways to explore as well. There. I haven't gotten too far into it yet, but it's definitely something that's being thought on heavily.
Yeah, when you say lair, it makes me think
Yeah,
of
I'm old school, so that's the term I'm using.
yeah. When you say lair, it makes me think of
Yeah.
well, obviously evil lair, but like I go further back in my memory. What I'm thinking about is a specific mod for the game Morrowind, like the original Morrowind.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a
And that's
mod for that game where you can hunt the cliff racers to extinction, and I think that brings
that's an interesting
that's a
thing right
great
there. That's interesting.
that's a
Yeah.
great segue here to enemy designs where people have hated cliff racers for since the beginning of Morrowind.
Gosh, yes.
Dirty
I hate them.
screeches, and you have roll chances to try to hit them, right? Because that's how Morrowind works. And usually you can't even hit them, and then they're too far up, and their hitboxes are fucking weird, and it's always a mess.
Right.
And if you just run through the world, you will just amass a huge amount of them that come flying to you. So with this mod, hunting them to extinction, that is an interesting concept where you can present, like, say if it would be
I see. There is that is exactly what I mean in the other ways of pursuing things like that. And that alone I think would be, you know, you could again spend so much on that, and that's, you know, as you just mentioned, something like that could be, I think, very engaging when it comes to you know, clearing out you know, these layers or whatever we want to refer to them as. Um, some of them I refer to as just simply monster nests because some of them just have monsters that are more, you know, more primitive, if you will. You know, so I think in that sense, you know, again, it's something that can be, I think, explored so much, and it, you know, it's been explored before in different ways, but you know, there's always, I think, something you can do to make it interesting.
yes. Excuse me, like one moment. I noticed one of these like updates that we have automatic on the channel is like not doing the right thing.
We just froze for a minute,
Did we?
for a split second. We're good now.
Second, we're good now. Cool. So, also saying is finish your games now, Biggie. Haha. Raccoon shield, flaming sword. I don't know. You have you've got your emoji game ready with the raccoon and everything, but he seems to be
Yeah,
he seems to
you
be
got me yesterday. I was like, um, you had uh you had mentioned something about having a special guest on the stream, and you kind of, I don't know, I took it as a third person sort of thing, and I was like, oh,
oh yeah.
it's gonna be another person on the stream, besides me. Oh, that's great. You know, we'll have a little party going on. I mean, yes, we have people in the stream as well, so technically we do have a little party going on here, but um, you know, I was like, oh, really? Party, you know?
Party.
You explain to me. You explain to me. Oh no, you're the special guest. Oh, yeah, me. Right. Yeah, it's me.
I yes, I'm special now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to believe we've been going on 30 minutes. This has been, I think, a really great discussion so far.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
everything is running pretty
we've
smoothly.
covered a lot so far.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's bring up the question that I brought with me here, really, for the chat at least, of what are some of the favorite enemies
oh,
that
yeah.
they have,
Yeah.
and then we can talk a little bit about why. You know, what makes those interesting encounters. I have one on my mind. And of course, I didn't ask you beforehand, so I might start jabbering about my pick while you have a little bit of a think about your pick, if you may, if
Right.
you want to. I'm putting you on the spot
Yeah,
here.
of course.
So,
I would love to add to that.
so starting out conceptually, I love enemies that are one-offs, and that's weird for someone who likes very complex, engaging combat. But few things speak to me as much as like a well-designed like one-off enemy from something like, you know, like a Zelda game.
Right.
So
Mhm.
they have those.
So by one-offs, could you elaborate
Yes.
a
So a
small bit on
one-off
that?
means that they basically do one thing, and
Right.
that they add to the situation of combat or whatever. And sometimes it's only them. Sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
So one example I find really nice in Zelda, in Ocarina of Time, they're really fucking annoying, but you have these like big plant-like things that unearth from the ground and they spin around like they're death spinners, basically. Like
Yeah.
what are they called? Beyblades, basically.
Basically, it sounds.
They're big sentient Beyblades. And
Yeah.
it's so like you can sometimes encounter several one of them when you run through an area. They're very simple, but on the night times when the skeletons come out and you run around, it might actually turn into like a bit of a tussle. Like obviously the games always feel like on the safer side because it's Nintendo aligned.
Yeah.
But
Oh my gosh, that scared the shit out of me. That scared the shit out of me. Sorry, I have an announcement thing on you.
right.
Thank you for the follow. MX.
Yeah,
I believe.
I might take that opportunity for that to say that like if you're enjoying the stream, then you can go follow Aerix over there, or you can hit the follow over here.
Yeah, I think I have your YouTube linked in here, or your Twitch or something. I don't know. I'll have to check the links. I'll add it.
It's all good. It's all good.
But
so
yeah.
So Zelda has a tendency to have like lots of cool one-offs, and a one that I pick out maybe from more like generic like platform game or whatever would be like dancing sword type of enemy. And it's like you literally just have to like avoid them and they might dance into you. It's in that simplicity when they do like one thing and you try to take that into different situations where it can actually like matter for an action game. The game Onimusha Dawn of Dreams does it really well.
Yeah,
really well.
I recently did a bunch of enemy designs for small projects that kind of pulled a lot of things in a similar way as that, having just a bunch of one-off enemies where we started. One of them was actually very simple. It was just, an enemy kind of inspired by sort of like a Goomba-like creature from Mario. A lot of people want to do that sort of thing. But the one we did was kind of interesting because we set up our own way of doing it. And so this one, I mean, pretty much it was just the charging, and, in a different concept as your traditional like Super Mario games. This one was 3D and, more of like the Super Mario Galaxy sort of thing, right? Where you would have, different ways of getting